3 days past, hundreds of games have been played, and 2 players remain here in the World Championship Series Valencia. We get down to the grand finals to find out who will be crowned a WCS champion and who will be going to the global finals to represent the Western scene. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the desk here as we get down to business for the grand finals. To my left-hand side, we have Todd and Rotterdam going to be along for the ride here for the grand finals. A Zoke versus Zoke to come, boys. Elazer goes up against Snute. You guys are useless. Go on.
Roddy was trolling, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, 18 and 15 in Snoot's favor in series. So far, 48 and 48 in maps. So good indicator that it might be close, but I feel like with the way both have been playing, on one hand, you got Snute that's absolutely on fire so far this tournament, who's known for his good ZvZ. And on the other hand, you got Elazer, who's been training over in Korea, who showed also great results. I feel like at this point, for what we've seen, this is definitely a grand finals that makes sense, and I'm very excited about, regardless of the matchup. You know, like some people are praying, ZvZ and stuff. No. Shut up right now. You're going to see roaches, you're going to see amazing action, and it's going to be great.
I mean, I'm happy that we have Todd standing here, actually, because I do generally believe in, like, finals jitters, you know? It can be very scary. Okay. So, Johan, like, in your days, when you played Warcraft 3 a lot, you made it to countless of finals. Did you often notice, like, maybe with your first final, that you were maybe more nervous than you should have been? And when you played against other people that had their first final pretty much ever on the big stage, did you notice that they perhaps played on their level, or do you not really believe in that?
Yeah, I believe in that. I mean, I lost every time in the finals.
No, so that's not true. Stop.
Apart from last week. Anyway, continue.
Here's the thing, like Elazer, it's not necessarily his first grand finals per se. He made it to the finals of Challenger twice, and by now he's been to a lot of tournaments, offline tournaments. In particular, he's played against the biggest names. You know, remember Nation Wars? He was playing as Innovation and stuff. Doesn't get any more pressure than this.
Right.
So I feel like definitely there could be some jitters, but by now he should kind of get used to this. And also remember, like, he's been picturing this for a long time. He had a couple deep runs, and I think he really wants this, Elazer, at this point. I've been talking to him, and I can tell.
Well, we can break it down in just a moment, as we do have our grand finalists almost ready here to begin the finals for WCS Valencia. Let's hear from them to think about their thoughts as to what's going to happen.
Feels amazing, especially being in the final of WCS event like this. It's a great feeling. Yeah, it just feels amazing to be in a final of that tournament that I tried so hard many times. 3 times I dropped in the group stages, and finally I'm there.
I'm really happy to reach the finals after being eliminated so early in the previous circuit events. I've just been practicing really hard before I came here. I played so many online tournaments, I've laddered a lot of games. Now that I have a good result here, I feel like all the practice that I did finally paid off.
Always good to hear from Snute and Elazer here going into the grand final. So a Zerg versus Zerg is what we're going to go into, and we've seen both of these players really thrive in the matchup over the last couple of years, especially Elazer as of late has looked extremely phenomenal in this matchup.
Yeah, it's only been Cyril that he struggled against. Very importantly here, this is rank 5 against rank 7 in the circuit standings.
Yeah.
Winning here would remove any pressure of performing in the upcoming WCS Montreal for one of these two, because they'd be directly seeded into the global finals. So very important here to get that win. Whoever loses here in the finals is still going to have to post a good result later on.
I'll get your thoughts in a moment, Rotterdam, because I'm hearing that we are ready, holding you in suspense there, mate, because we're ready to go over to Smix, who is ready for our grand finals. I'm very excited. Are you, Smix?
I am indeed Caleras. We started with 76 players, and now we are down to just 2. Can our Norwegian player take home a 3rd Premier title, or will our Polish player become a StarCraft 2 champion for the very first time? Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Snute and Elazer!
That's right, it's do or die, slay or be slayed here. Best of 7 determines if you are going to go down in glorious victory or if you will fail here. Snute goes up against Elazer for this final, and Snute is no stranger to the big stage, Rotterdam.
No, not at all. He's been in so many finals over the years. Last year, like I said, he won in Mexico, WCS event as well. Got to the finals in Katowice. We almost forget about that because we have so many events in 1 year. But that was a very big final. And of course, he was victorious in the Neo Star League, a tournament that happened in China. Actually, a lot of money on the line for that one too. But it's been a while, and I think that's why you see Snute be so happy and so relieved. But the same can be said for Elazer. It's really awesome to see 2 StarCraft players just being that happy and excited to be in a final. I mean, I'm sure that Neep and Cyril were thrilled to be in the final at John Chopping as well. But it was also like they kind of expected it because they know how damn good they are in this game. So it's like, yeah, we're happy, but you know, that doesn't mean we have to smile. You know, don't be crazy. You can see that both of these young men are incredibly happy for different reasons. Elazer's first time, Snute finally makes that return to the big stage again.
And this is kind of new school against old school in a way as well, with Elazer being the new Zerg on the block there. I already told the story. I feel like I need to tell it again. Before the tournament even started, Elazer, I met him in the gym randomly, and he started telling me about how he really wants to play in the GSL versus the World events. But because he's not a fan favorite, because he's the new guy, it was going to be hard competing against guys like Snute and Scarlet in the votes. He told me that if he thinks that if he wins this tournament, this might help things change. And he very well might be right. So there is more at stakes than just a lot of money in the global finals here, perhaps.
But the same can be said for Snute, obviously. If Snute wins here, like Snute is already a little bit of a fan favorite, and everyone's like, he's not just a fan favorite, he's really good at the game as well. It's gonna be a fun finals, man, and I really think it comes down to like who's gonna be more calm and composed, because we both know that they're both ready to bring the aggression. Maybe Elazer a little bit more than Snute.
Right.
But in ZvZ, Snute can definitely be different. He can definitely be very surprising.
I think in the Zergling Baneling phase of the game, maybe I will advantage Elazer a little bit, but not by much. But in a roach part, not only Pig is going to lose it, but Snute definitely is going to be in his comfort zone for sure.
Snute is one with the roaches. He's got them as pets.
He is. He may as well be.
And
Spanish.
the roaches are one with him.
Yep. He doesn't travel by plane. He travels by roach.
The launch pad. That's how it works. You know, the edge of the crate, that's the launch pad right there.
He's used to the intrusion of roaches. Very important phrase.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I totally forgot about that one.
If we're going to a game 7, we're going to go to Defender's Landing. That's just great.
Wow. All right.
Just leave it at that.
Yes.
That was all you had.
Mic drop.
I'm okay with that one. So, but they both had very different roads to the grand final. Whilst I would say that Snute has probably had the harder road, Elazer has had the Zerg versus Zerg road to get used to the finals here. Does that give him a little bit of favor here in this ZvZ, or how do you see it?
Yes and no, because obviously you can also make the counter argument saying that Snute is able to watch so many ZvZ games of Elazer already of this tournament, and it's unlikely that Elazer is going to change his style over the last 30 minutes. So yes and no, but I actually think that Snoot's road was a lot more impressive. I mean, Elazer was great, don't get me wrong, but I think it played out very nicely for him. He got Haas in the round of 16, and of course, Haas is crazy, herpy-derp, but like, you know, Elazer is super solid, and he's not going to lose a best of 5 against mostly Protoss cheese. That just almost doesn't happen. And then the one player he really feared, he dodged because True was able to eliminate Cyril. So it's just almost like it all lined up perfectly for Elazer, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be easier for him against Snute.
All right, it seems that our players are ready, and we are almost ready. I'm going to get your predictions, guys, going into the grand final, because it is the grand final, so we'll start with you, Todd.
I'm feeling Snute with the 4-3.
4-3, okay.
I'm feeling Jens as well with a good old 4-2.
Oh, all right. Well, the desk says Snute. Let's see how it's going to unfold here for the WCS Grand Final for Valencia. I'm heading you over to the commentary team now as we get ready for this best of 7.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the grand final here at WCS Valencia, where we will finally have a new champion for the first time since the circuit began. Neeb has been dethroned, and one of these two players will secure a spot to the global finals. Pig, nothing could be more important than this match right now for these two players.
Not at all. When you're up there on that stage, all you want is to be the one to stand up and take that trophy in your hands, and both of these players are going to be fighting very hard for it. Playing the mirror match, the deadly Zerg versus Zerg.
We are loaded into the first game of this best of 7. We hope you've enjoyed the tournament so far. It is time to find the epic conclusion here on Ascension to Ire. We have the blue Zerg player in the southeast. Give a cheer if you're rooting for Snute.
And his opponent spawning up here in the top left-hand side of Ascension to Ire. It is Elazer.
And I love that we've got the Snute Strikes Back story coming in as a bit of a slower year for him so far. They talk about some of the awesome results that he had last year, but he is the player that you expect to see make it all the way to the playoffs at the end of the year. He's the player that you expect to be talking about when it comes to the finals, and it hasn't been the story so far. We've spent a lot of time at the start of this tournament especially talking about guys like Neeb, like Special, Elazer, who really stepped it up, and of course Cyril and Nurcio, two of the most considered to be the best Zergs these days, and Snute's name kind of fell off on that list, so this is such a monumental feat for him. I think a lot of Snute fans, since he is one of the most popular players in StarCraft 2, feeling very vindicated by his performance in this tournament so far.
Exactly. You know, he's had some tough runs in some tournaments, but here redeeming himself. He was saying it in his interviews earlier that he's made it to a couple of round of 16 so far this year, but he doesn't feel like he should only be making it there. He feels like he should be in the top 4s, in the top 8s, and now here to make the finals, I'm sure he's feeling very vindicated as well.
It's an awesome honor to be up here playing for the big title, and of course that seed, that very important seed moving forward. And on the other side of things, we have Elazer, who's talking about wanting to get into that GSL versus the world competition. But Pig, tell me about these openings a little bit. Zerg versus Zerg can be a little bit hectic. I think a lot of us non-Zerg players perhaps don't quite always understand what's happening all the time because things can fly off the handle so quickly. Is there anything we should be keeping our eyes out for? Is there anything that jumps out to you already?
I mean, Snute has opened up a little bit safer so far. He's gone for the very fast gas and spawning pool, delaying his hatchery just a little bit. So he's clearly showing some respect for Elazer, wants to play quite safe. We're going to have to keep an eye on Snute's production tab. If he doesn't build any drones soon and it's just more Zerglings piling up, then he's probably going to go for a very fast attack. Meanwhile, Elazer is as standard can be. 3 hatcheries. He's got just a lot of, Zerglings will be coming out in the near future. But for the moment, it's just a 3rd queen. Skipping the Baneling Nest. Actually, looks like Elazer might want to just skip that out and just defend with queens. Zerglings go straight up to roaches. So playing a little bit on the greedier side is Elazer. Snute gonna get out there and start to put on some aggression now.
So I gotta ask Pig then, if we have this Baneling, he can see that there is this potential here. Obviously, he knows there's a Baneling Nest because he's building Banelings outside of his base. Does he need to? There's not really a lot he can do against this, right? Because he doesn't have a Baneling Nest of his own.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty tough. I mean, he's got to try and avoid these units. He's already sending some Zerglings to counterattack across the map. He wants to draw Snute away. Snute just keeping that Baneling alive. He keeps zoning out the Zerglings, and he does get the cancel on the hatchery. Elazer microing that, Snute microing that fantastically.
Is that enough for him at this point in the game?
It definitely equalizes things. You know, we said Snute played a little bit more passive there. He's up 5 workers himself now. The 3rd base will immediately drop back down for Elazer, and you'll notice he has a lot of minerals in the bank, but he is down on workers now, so Snute definitely catching up in that economy.
And the Queen out here from shooting down that Overlord a bit earlier will be a part of this fight, very far away from creep. She can't really retreat here, but Elazer looks like he's going to be able to clean that up as he's taking the edge back a bit. These Banelings are all he has to defend.
Good fights there for Elazer, just taking the advantage in the Zergling count quite drastically. Oh, and this Baneling, it's looking for the hit, doesn't find it. The Zergling's just going to run straight into that main.
Straight into the main base. The Baneling has to chase all the way up, but the drone's not evolved to fight against these forces in the Zerg arsenal. Oh, look at the production now, too. Elazer just cranking out lings behind this. He's just committing all the way behind this hatchery.
Yeah, this is kind of crazy. No Baneling Nest or Roach Horn. Still, Elazer needs those Zerglings to keep the Lingbane of Snute back on his side of the map. And, I mean, Elazer's still way up in that army count, but Snute's got that healthy little 6 drone lead, and he's managed to squeeze in that 3rd hatch. The question is, can he hang on to it?
Yeah, I mean, behind this, the Lair did start with the Roach Horn, but he's still only building Zerglings. Elazer is still committing insanely hard to this lane count. He did send a couple of his Zerglings back to the northeast base as well. At the same time, he will grab this Queen, but not before the inject is dropped. Doesn't seem like he can kill that 3rd base again, though.
Good defense by Snute with those Banelings. Looks like he will hang on to the hatchery. and Elazer hangs onto his as well. So both players starting to stabilize a little bit on 3 bases, but hey, we've talked about it previously. Snute always finds a way to squeeze more workers in. Up at 37 drones to 33. He is doing very well on the economy front, but Elazer, is he going to find an opening? Looks like not.
Nope. Manages to defend with the lanes that he has here. He has that Baneling tucked next to the hatchery, even if it's going to finish a bit later than Elazer's that worker count lead that you mentioned earlier. He had it for a nice little bit longer. Elazer has equalized things, but moving into that roach phase of the game where things don't quite end on the flip of a Baneling mine.
Yeah, not at all. Looks like both players are still pretty even. Supply's pretty close, work count's pretty close. Both players finding little bits of damage, but nothing major, nothing game-ending, and both players have found the time to squeeze in the workers. They're both heading on up to Lair, Roaches, an Evolution Chamber on the way for Snute, but a much faster Roach speed upgrade there for Elazer.
And that Lair timing during that Ling flood definitely going to help him out. You do not want your Roaches to be caught without that upgrade against an opponent who has them. You won't be able to retreat, right? So yeah. With the Lair timing that Snute is going for, can he really do anything with this Roach shove, or how are we feeling about this?
It's really interesting because Elazer doesn't have that upgrade yet, so it's kind of like, okay, there we go. I was about to say, he's either got to drop an Evo Chamber really quickly or he's going for Mutas behind this. It looks like Mutas is going to be the order of the day for Elazer. So going for a smaller commitment to Roaches, not going for the upgrades just yet. Kind of like a safety speed Roach, maybe do a little attack with it, but he's going to go straight into Mutas behind that. And Snute, if he doesn't get scouting on that, it's going to be a little bit of a pain for him.
Yeah, being caught off guard by Mutalisks can be especially punishing if you don't already have things like Spore Crawlers up or a transition into something like Hydralisks on the way. So third base is getting set up for both players at the moment. That Spire that you mentioned, it is coming along. An Evolution Chamber has started for Elazer, but obviously not quite fast enough to hit a timing where his Roaches would be able to fight with any sort of advantage.
Snute right now has the Roach advantage, but he doesn't have any information. These Zerglings we're watching are so key. They need to get into to see the Spire, but miscontrol from Snute. He actually stops to fight the Roaches, doesn't get the damage done. And the scouting story, and without seeing the Spire, that's going to be a real pain.
Yeah,
he just has no idea.
That information is so crucial, like trying to move across the map like this. I mean, we've seen it before, right? Where the Mutalisks come out just a little bit too late and the Roach attack hits and it's able to get work done. But because Snute's Roach speed isn't ready yet, by the time he actually gets that third, there could already be a good few Mutalisks on the map. He's got enough gas to make 6, 7 right now. And I guess throwing Ravagers in with this can help, but how much can he realistically expect to do with this?
This is really bad because he's trying to do this as like a sneaky Roach timing. You can see Snute's only on 52 drones. Elazer's gone up to 65. If this was just Roach versus Roach, it would be incredible for Snute because he's just going to blindside him. Elazer has no idea that this attack is building up right now, but the Mutalisks are going to be able to deal with that. So I feel like Elazer, I mean, the Mutas are going to be his saving grace right now. Snute, he's on a timer. He's got to get as much damage done as quickly as possible.
And he steps forward towards the third base, throws a bunch of the corrosive biles onto where the larva would be, and perhaps he might be able to do some damage and pick off this base, but he didn't get the fourth in the bottom left either, so just trying to take out what's here. The Mutalisk's able to fire freely from above, Pig.
Yeah, that's a good amount of damage so far. These Roaches on the ground of Elazer, just without the upgrade, they're not as strong, and Snute's Roach count, wow, the Mutas are just tickling it. They're not doing enough damage.
The Mutas can't kill him fast enough. There's too many Roaches here for Snute, allowing him to get work done. He's killed a lot of those drones. He's up to 70 on his own now. He has Hydralisk speed being researched behind this. The Muta count slowly trickles up a bit, but he's taken a lot of heat to try and burn out these Roaches that have been in his base.
Yeah, this is really hard for Elazer. He can't take much more damage or he's just going to be in a desperate position. He's lost quite a few workers as well as that third base. He has transferred workers down to the fourth, which is going to help his economy stabilize a little bit. Otherwise, he'd be in a pretty terrible spot, but he's down 30 supply. Those Mutas are going to give him a bit of map control, but Snute going right into Hydralisks, not going for Infestors, and that tells me that Snute wants to finish this soon. He wants to go out there with just a pack of Roach Hydra, push across the map, and deal the finishing blow to Elazer.
Is there a number that you want to wait for as a Zerg player in a situation like this? I mean, the Muta count isn't crazy high, but is he going to commit? I mean, does he wait for a lot of Hydralisks, or...
Oh, it looks like his hand's being forced. He didn't have a Spore Crawler here, being quite greedy. And as a result, Snute's saying, oh, damn, I need to just go straight across this map. He's had to just move because he didn't have enough Hydras together to fight these Mutas. Now extra Queens coming up to help engage it, but losing 14 workers. That's a good blow to equalize for Elazer. The question is, can he defend against this push?
He just runs straight across the map with his forces. That's I guess one of the reasons why this Mutalisk are able to do as much as they could. The Hydras are with the Roaches to make it so that he can't just run back to defend against this. The Hydras are split a little bit, but with the range, the ability to fight behind his own Roaches, even against that concave, trying to get some more work done here to push onto that fourth. If Elazer could stabilize on the base count that he has, he'd be able to get a lot of work done. He did kill 16 drones of Snute behind all of this, so just trying to defend.
Desperately trying to hang on, but it looks like those Hydras in the back had just enough Roaches in front to buffer for them, and those Hydralisks have carried a lot of kills here. Their damage output is fantastic, so with those Roaches in front of them, they just chew through a lot of those units, and Elazer, he finally gets the Mutas back. He is going to clean this up.
Good Corrosive Bile on the Hydralisk for Elazer, allows him to push back the anti-air capabilities of Snute while these Roaches get into the fourth base drone line. Picking off these workers, of course, very crucial at the moment, as Snute is currently leading 9 in that worker count. Every kill here is extremely important. He's got his +2 upgrade well underway now, and still continuing to pump up quite a few Hydralisks behind this.
Yeah, it's going to stabilize for a little while here. Snute definitely with the economic advantage, but he doesn't have his own fourth hatchery yet. It's just started to go down in the north side of the map. He's got that 8-worker lead, though, 8 or 9 workers. He's got more Roaches and Hydras on the way, still not teching up. Snute wanting to keep on fighting. He's going to push out once more with more Roaches and Hydras. He knows that most of Elazer's Mutalisks have gone down, only 2 of them remaining. At this point, it's pretty much all ground versus ground. Elazer doesn't have the money to rebuild those Mutas.
And having the Hydras behind the Roaches allows them to usually fight with more of your army. Of course, the Corrosive Bile can help swing things the other way with the extra range that the Ravagers have. But he has to stop this attack. It's moving up the ramp as we speak. There's the Biles. He steps forward through them so that he cannot be hit. And he's just going to focus fire down these Ravagers with the Hydras from behind, picking off the majority of these forces. Snute taking a nice supply lead, Pig.
Ballsy maneuver there from Snute. Just moves right through the piles. Doesn't let those Ravagers get any damage done at all, and rolls over the top there with that superior force.
GG. Snute takes the first game in this grand final here at WCS Valencia. A little bit of a head nod out of the Norwegian Zerg player saying, yep, feels good. He executed his strategy very well. And man, how often don't we see that? The Zerg player in this matchup that goes for those quicker Mutalisks, just, it's nice. Okay, yeah, his attack went so slowly. It's nice. But the attack went so slowly. You were talking about it was kind of like a sneak Roach attack, and he was allowed to get the Mutas out, but still, he had so many Roaches. There's like nothing he could do. He still took incredible amounts of damage.
Really good sneaky attack there from Snute. I mean, I talk about it a lot, so I'm sure people who've listened to my ZvZ casts get pretty bored of it, but it's just those Overlord vision. It's so good if you're so aware of it. And we saw Snute carefully, went out with his queen, he killed the Overlord, created that little passage on the south of the map, and he just patiently moved his whole army down there. Elazer was like thinking he could see anything coming his way. He thought he was fine. Suddenly, you've got Roaches at your base. Your Mutalisks don't have any time to damage them down. They're in your worker lines. And yeah, Elazer just didn't have those Mutas out quite in time.
If he had seen the Roach attack coming, was there anything he could have done at that point other than just hope the Mutas come out in time?
He handled it pretty well, as he did. I guess he could definitely drop some spines with the knowledge he had. If he had maybe a minute's extra warning, I think just producing more Roaches is probably the answer. Even though he's down an upgrade, maybe a few Ravagers as well. And I think another big part of it is that Elazer at that stage didn't get any scouting on the mineral lines. Didn't have an overseer in there, so he couldn't count the workers and say, you know what, you're not droning as hard as me, because Elazer went up to about 65 drones. Snute was only at 52. And that's a lot of drones, which he could have made into Roaches or spine crawlers or some sort of defense to stop that push.
All right, well, we're going to move on to Proxima Station next for this ZvZ. How does this map change the dynamic for ZvZ, since we have that very tight choke point to enter the main base where it can get your natural can be tucked back safely behind? Do we see a lot more greedy play in ZvZ, or is it still pretty easy to punish someone who's a little bit too greedy?
Yeah, I think you've hit on a good topic there, Nate. It's definitely a greedy map. We've seen Nurture, I believe, took a fast third hatch on this one earlier in the tournament. I think Snute might have as well. This is definitely a map where players might just go a bit gasless, wall off the front with some evolution chambers, take the third base in the back, go straight up to that Roach stage. We also see the odd kind of weird play here as well, where someone just takes the backdoor expansion, goes for 2-base Muta, something like that. Occasionally, Nidus Worm all-ins are quite popular here as well, because people play just so greedy.
All right, well, we'll have to see which way these players want to go if they want to use the map features to that degree. We are loaded into game number 2. You're watching the grand finals here at the WCS Valencia. We have in the bottom left our Blue Zerg player leading 1-0 in this best of 7. He's Snute. Snute fans in the crowd.
There's always a lot of Snute fans every tournament he goes to. But this young man over here, he started to make a lot of fans for himself as well. The young Polish Zerg up here in the top right. In the red, it is Elazer. That was a great cheerful there.
Yeah, the passion coming out of our awesome crowd here in Spain. It has been a great tournament, great weekend down here.
It's been very nice. A lot of paella.
Yeah.
Not enough sangria yet, but hopefully we'll remedy that after the finals.
We'll remedy that. Well, everything in balance, Pig, as it is in games, as it is in life. And well, for the winner as well, the final battle versus the champagne bottle that we see all so often. Who would you pick in this best of 7 to actually win the battle versus the champagne bottle? Snute or Elazer? Who do you think parties harder?
I feel like Snute. You know, Snute's got a couple of years on him. I'm not sure how many bottles of champagne he's cracked, but I think when you've won as many tournaments as Snute has,
surely he's thought about it. Yeah,
I'm sure he's had some experience with that. You know, Elazer's only 19. Probably hasn't run into too many bottles that don't have twisty tops yet.
Hasn't had too many 1v1s like that. All right. So it is, as you said, a map that promotes a lot more the greedy style, the economic play style. We have both players going straight up to 3 hatch. Is there anything here for the discerning Zerg eye that you see as being very different in terms of the way that they've opened, or is this still mostly the same from both players so far?
Both players are looking into a mirror right now. It is identical for both players, going for the hatch first, into the 3rd hatchery in the back as well. And yeah, this is just about as greedy as you can play. Neither player expecting any aggression on this map. Both players sending their first Overlord through the opponent's base. It's going to go through, check that back hatchery, and they're going to be completely aware of what they've done in the opening. The only thing to look out for is when the players choose to go towards their gas.
Okay, and is it common that you have a goal, you want to saturate your main in half your natural, your full natural, or?
It's really down to personal preference. There's always a bit of a delay on it, but we did see, for instance, Scarlet against Snute in their series. I believe it was actually the one map that she took versus Snute, where she just stopped at 22 drones after this pretty much exact same opening, made Zergling speed, massed a ton of Zerglings and just flooded across the map and managed to overwhelm them. So Snute's probably going to be on his toes looking out for any cheeky shenanigans like that.
Seems like something that Elazer would have taken note of in watching the previous games that Snute's played. So he's taken that 1 gas a little bit more quickly. Meanwhile, Snute taking 2 gas at once with the Roach Warren being built as well. So not thinking or focusing as heavily on the Zergling play, although Elazer doesn't necessarily have to commit to that. But Evolution Chamber Wall is going to go up at the front of that lower base. And this map, there's really only one direct path that you can take to assault the other players, straight down the middle.
Yeah.
In ZvZ, do you see those rocks broke in like early phase at all for flanks, or does it mostly come down to fights on these ramps?
It's pretty much just front on. Occasionally these rocks will go down, but it's going to be interesting. Snute is getting in it with a scout right now. That's very useful because Elazer, when he plays these greedy openings, he takes it to a whole new level. This is so much like his game against Nurchio on Blood Boil. He's just been holding down that drone key. He delayed his Roach Warren and Evo Chamber by quite a little bit there. Meanwhile, Snute already has that +1 range on the way. So you know what? I don't think we've seen any Evolution Chamber actually from Elazer.
He's just starting with now.
And he might not even use it, to be honest. With how late that is, he might be just planning towards Mutalisks every game. He's already going for a 4th Gas Geyser in the back, which he might think is a little bit hidden, but that's actually being spotted by Snute right now. So that's fantastic information for the Norwegian Zerg.
So is the idea here, if he goes for this Spire, that he just wants to get it so much faster than the last game that he's able to do a lot more with it, or prevent Snute from being able to damage him in the same way if he makes a Roach attack?
Yeah, I think pretty much the same game plan as last game, but scout a bit better with his Overseers, or
maybe
he might just go for a ton of Roaches, Nate.
Okay, well, I guess that's ZvZ for you, right? The ability to make that choice on a snap.
Yeah.
17 Roaches immediately. Even with that later Roach Warren, he's just going ham.
And no +1 either. I mean, Snute here has gone up to 65 workers. I think Elazer is probably aware that Snute likes to play like this, and he's saying, you know what? If I just skip my +1, I can get in there with a ton of roaches, ravages, and just try and knock you out of this game. But I think Snute, I think his +1's going to finish just in time for this. And if that does, and he has the proper positioning, he might just be able to smack this down.
He sniffed something out, right? I mean, he's got a lot of roaches being built on his own, and as you just said, with that +1 attack, that is a huge difference when it comes to these army compositions facing off against each other. So
he might have to cancel that gold hatchery to get a bit more money. He's got plenty of overlords on the way. Snute sees this ton of roaches coming out across this map. He's breaking down his rocks. He realizes, oh no, that is a ton of units. All I need to do is hang on and defend right now. Is his roach warren exposed? Yes, it is. It's towards the front.
7 seconds. This +1 missile attack will be done. So his roaches are going to be in a very good position to take these 1v1 fights. As that army does approach for Elazer, he's going to step right on up. +1 is complete roach speed, finishing up for both players, but that is a lot of roaches for Elazer coming up the front door.
Finishes just in time. That is perfect for Snute. Look at this. Oh, he's got great defensive positioning, using the buildings to buy time, using that concave. He's going to wait for that Evo chamber to fall, and then he will probably flood out there before the roach warren can be taken out.
And he's got a lot to work with here. That upgrade advantage, super important. Going for the corrosive biles as well. Trying to focus fire these down. Pulling some drones off of the line is Snute to help deal with this as that worker count skims back in the favor of Elazer. But don't forget, he did actually finish the gold hatchery during all of this. So once he pushes this back, he should have that economic opportunity ahead of him.
That's actually huge. Having that gold base there, he can just transition workers down. He's got +1 finish. He can start +2 at any moment that he desires. Started burrow there for a second, thought better of it and cancelled it. That was Elazer, of course. And now Elazer, his roach is getting cornered a little bit. They need to get out of there. He doesn't have the numbers.
He's on the run, and he's without that upgrade that we talked about, Pig. If he gets an even fight, which according to the supply, it's a little bit tilted in his favor, that upgrade is going to swing things extremely heavily in his favor as he continues to push forward towards Elazer's base.
Snute looking so powerful here. Just safely droning up, defending the push perfectly. And Elazer here not quite finding any purchase. He pushes out, looking for control over this area. He wants to not get forced back into the choke point at his third, but the numbers, they're just out of control, Nate.
Yeah, the numbers are absolutely out of control. That upgrade advantage, he is plowing through Elazer's defenses as Snute marches onward towards his base. 19 roaches are about to pop. He did just finish that +1 attack, so it's a bit even now in terms of the upgrades. But look at that, taking a couple of shots towards that roach warren, using the positioning to fight back. And he's going to cut off his ability to produce the only unit that he can actually fight with. He's forced to run through this concave into Snute's army, and it's not looking that good, Pig.
The checkmate there, attacking the roach warren. Elazer needed to push out to try and defend that, but he just could not hold on.
GG, Snute. That +1, you know, in my limited knowledge of ZvZ, I can tell you, Pig, in these mirror matches with these units, those one upgrade differences are insanely huge.
It's massive.
And that seemed to be it, because Elazer had that big roach push come out, but Snute was very patient. He had his upgrade timing could not have been better. And even with a slightly lower number of roaches, he was able to spank that army of Elazer all the way back across the map.
It's so fascinating to look at these two styles clash. We've got the experienced 26-year-old in Snute, a veteran of the scene. He won his first championship about 5 years ago. And he's just had so much success. He's got so much experience on this stage, and he has always showed this trademark patient defensive play. Elazer, on the other hand, he's brash, he's young, he's aggressive, but it hasn't worked out in these first couple of games, and you can see it there, of course, taking a bit of a weight on his mentality. He's going to need to gather himself together because he does need to win 4 games to take this out. He's only got 2 more maps left that he can lose.
Yep, and Snute looking forward. We're going to be going to Odyssey next. Very straightforward map. Anything that jumps out to you for this is this maybe a bit closer to I think of it as a very similar maps layout-wise to Ascension to Ire.
Yeah.
So
a little bit shorter,
greedy.
I guess, right? A little bit more of a rush, shorter rush distance.
More of a straight path across.
Yeah, and a little bit wide open bases as well. So later on, it can be a bit more decisive in the mid game, whereas Ascension drags out a little bit. So there is also that gold base to keep in mind as well. It's got only a very low mineral count on each patch, so it mines out very quickly, but it gives you this very powerful boost to your minerals. And often that's enough to push through a victory.
Yeah, for Zerg, haven't we seen it that it's such an important turning point for many matchups, mirror or otherwise. We are loading in. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this so far. I think the Snute fans out there, glad to see Mr. Asgard back in action, back in peak condition, as it were.
The Force awakens with this one. Spawning down here in the bottom right-hand side. Representing Team Liquid. Give it up for Snute.
And his opponent currently trailing 0-2 in this grand final. Looking for his first big championship. He is Elazer.
Determination in that young competitor's eyes there. Always been one who's come in with confidence. He's not letting it go. He looked a little bit shaken after the game, but I can tell he steadied himself there. And going to this next map, we're once again going to be seeing that matchup of builds from the first game. Snute playing very safe with the gas pool. Elazer going for the hatchery first.
Yep, and man, talk about a pressure situation. You get all the way to this grand final where you can secure that spot, and you win this, and you're not thinking about WCS points anymore. You are going. You are going to the show. And that's it's such a weight off your shoulder. We talked about how coming into this tournament, Snute was, I believe, in like 9th place. So certainly cementing himself a little bit more deeply now in that top 8. Of course, Elazer's had plenty of deep runs himself, so he's not sweating that ticket. But boy, it sure is nice to punch it early and not have to really worry too much.
Oh, and it's his first time in a big grand finals as well for Elazer. So there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders. But I mean, just because Snute's won championships before, it doesn't mean he takes this lightly. And the last time was, close to a year ago that he was in a big grand final. So he would love to get that title under his belt. He's never won here in Valencia, and he would love to have that trophy to take home.
I think the guys were talking about it earlier. The previous tournaments in Valencia, the big Zerg wins, I believe it was Nurchio last year, and then 2 years ago, I remember I was here, and we had that. It was like the entire top 8 or top 16 was all Zerg somehow. It was like just ZvZ. So history has a way of repeating itself, Pig.
This is the town of Zergs here in Valencia.
I don't know why the break graphic was like carriers and immortals, right? There's been a bunch of roaches.
Well, they thought Neep was going to invade for the 3rd time. He did a good run. Wasn't quite able to take 3 in a row. That would have been an absolutely astonishing surprise there. But no, a couple of these guys who haven't had a chance to make it through to that grand finals having a shot here. And it looks like Snute once again going to be going for a relatively quick Baneling nest, morphing to Banelings. And they are just defensive, though. Snute not wanting to go for that Ling Bane pressure this time around.
Playing it safe, not putting too much out there in the beginning of this game. I mean, he's got a comfortable lead, right? So I think at this point, your goal is to just try to play your A game, get to where you're comfortable. I think for Snute, a lot of us see that as being that mid-late game phase. That's where he was able to take it to Elazer and Special earlier in this tournament, being able to play out that long game, regardless of whatever kind of deficit he had early on. He was always able to recover. But a lot of links coming out for Elazer, and he's building a spine crawler. So is he expecting a big attack? Or?
He's actually really worried. His overlords aren't positioned through the middle. He saw a few Zerglings come out, and he thought it was a lot more than it was. It was actually just a couple of scouting Zerglings, but Elazer panicked a little bit because he skipped his Baneling nest. He's cut a corner here, the same as he did in Game 1. And remember, in Game 1, he ended up on the back foot for a while because Snute's Banelings were all over the place. So he was a little bit afraid there, of course. You know, being down 2 games is a little bit tough. He just set off one Baneling there with a single Zergling. Looks like he might even get another one. So good little pickoffs here for Elazer, just finding some small edges. And these Zerglings just want to keep Snute at home. If he can get a cancel on the 3rd, that's actually going to be massive.
Yeah, considering that his 3rd is already done across the map now, as these lanes do get that surround, and the 3rd base for Snute is canceled. Observer was pointing out, of course, the worker deficit for Snute. Or it's going to be for Elazer versus Snute. He was able to get this harass done, but forcing those drones to return to the hatchery, picking those off. And that drone 1v1ing a Zergling, not going to win that fight.
Very important that he got that cancel on that 3rd as he was down in those workers. He's going to get another Baneling here as well. Elazer with some good pickoffs. He's got a Roach Horn down behind this. We've seen Elazer just turn on the pressure and just go mass Roaches sometimes after this early pressure. This might be something he's done here. He has a ton of free supply, a lot of gas banked up. Nate, I think Elazer just wants to try and hit Snute in the face right now.
Having that 3rd hatch gives him the accessibility to the larva that he needs to produce those units. And like you pointed out, that supply cap, he's opened up to 90. He can build quite a few more Roaches before he'd be maxed out. The Lings get inside of the main base. They poke off a few more of these units. And what is Snute's response? How does he deal with this? He sees a good few lings. He doesn't see the roach count that's going to be coming out just yet. And, ooh, that one cheeky ling inside of his base for Elazer.
Snute's droning a lot right now. He doesn't have the information he needs about this. I'm not sure if he sees. I'm watching his camera at the moment. He's so busy with these Zerglings that he's not really thinking about defending. He's adding one roach, but he's actually quite supply blocked.
The Queen gets caught by the third base too. Kind of walked out trying to hit that Overlord, and it is dead. His lair is going to be done soon, but the number of roaches crossing the map, it seems like Elazer might be able to pick up this game number 3 here. There's not a whole lot to do with it. He's lost all his queens too.
And he can't even see it. He's struggling so hard with the Zerglings. He's been droning so hard. He might even go back to droning after he cleans up these Zerglings, but no, his Overlord spotted the roaches coming, and I think he's realized what Elazer is up to, but he's got like 10 seconds to prepare. What can he possibly do?
He's down 20 army supply by sheer virtue of investing in all of this tech. He got this lair that's going to be completely useless, evolution chamber that's not going to help him, and he hasn't been able to use the third base at all, while losing all of his queens. I don't know how he stops this. The Elazer's got a very powerful army. He's going to march into that natural expansion and just start killing stuff. Drop the corrosive biles on the eggs, stop the units from morphing. What else is there to be done for Snute?
Yeah, Elazer so decisive here. Gets in there, finds a weak point. He's managed to kill a lot of these drones. Now Snute's still tied on the workers, but there's just too many roaches and ravagers left. I don't know if Snute is going to be able to break through. Focusing down some of those ravagers is doing a good job, but more Zerglings flooding in. And Elazer, a very decisive push. He's found Snute's weak point.
Yep, he's managed to accrue that worker lead during all of this, so there is no economic recovery for Snute if these players are both spamming out units against each other. He's broken into the main base, and Elazer, doubling the supply of Snute, is going to put himself on the scoreboard here as the drones bring out the fisticuffs, but it ain't enough. GG is called, and Elazer takes the series up 1-2.
A nice win there for Elazer. He needed that there. You can see the confidence being boosted. And that's something where he just kind of stuck with his trademark style. He has a huge range of play styles, a huge range of builds. And he's sticking with ones that we've seen him do earlier on in the tournament. We've seen him do that one before. He's had a lot of success with it in the past. And it worked out here. Of course, the openings, very comfortable. Elazer, not afraid at all.
Yeah, very, very sharp attack there. Being able to get into that position where he could use that third base, get the extra larva out of it. And the fast cancel on Snute's third base. Extremely, extremely crucial. Very important, very powerful attacks being done here.
Got to bring it back to those openings. You can see the mindset of both players. Snute always playing so safe. But that time around, without going aggressive, it felt like Elazer, despite skipping the Baneling Nest, had a lot of freedom. His Zerglings were able to run over to Snute's side of the map, keep the pressure on him. He found lots of little openings, and Snute just had no idea what was going on the Elazer side of the map.
Where did it go wrong there? Was it just that he opened up with these defensive Banelings and he just couldn't get enough of a greedy opening, that he was overwhelmed by forces, or was there a key error by having one or two of those Banelings get sniped?
I think canceling the third was the big point where Elazer took control of that game. We saw Snute, you've got the Baneling tech, you need to be able to hang on to that third. I mean, if you're not going to pressure your opponent, it's easy to kind of make a small mistake, lose a Baneling or two extra, and suddenly your third's exposed. But I'm sure Snute is faulting himself. I'm sure he's criticizing himself internally, saying that should never happen. If I keep that third hatchery alive, I stabilize a lot sooner, got a few more lava, a bit more money, squeeze a few roaches out, and I'm actually able to scout that push coming. So I think Elazer there, he took control, took the momentum, and once he had a hold of it, he just didn't give Snute a chance to get back up.
No, held him down and forced his way through to that victory. He is now on Abyssal Reef for game number 4. And I think we've kind of had this one pinned down as just a very good, straightforward map this season for all matchups. Doesn't really shake anything up, right?
A little bit shorter rush distance, so we might see an early pool. Definitely,
Okay.
This is been one of the big culprits of that in Zerg versus Zerg. We saw Elazer pull out a 12 pool in the previous series against True. We'll have to see if something like that ends up happening again as we launch into the next map.
All right, we're loaded into Abyssal Reef here. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching the World Championship Series. You're in Valencia, Spain. We have in the bottom right, the Blue Zerg player representing Team Liquid in Norway. He is Snute.
Taking a map there in that last game, the Polish Zerg in the red. Up here, it is Elazer. An odd name for a Zerg player.
You don't have lasers as Zerg. Unless, I mean, yeah, I won't lie. I've had enough of my own battle cruisers neural parasited to see Zergs kill me with lasers.
Oh, that's true.
It can happen. It's possible. We saw quite a few neural parasites versus Protoss earlier in this tournament. Although, to no avail, as carriers are actually really bad at killing themselves.
Yeah. I think you need a lot of supporting units to make that one work out. We actually, funnily enough, did see Neural Parasite getting upgraded earlier on today in a Zerg vs. Zerg, but I believe it was Serral that did that. So very unlikely we're going to see Snute or Elazer stealing each other's units with Neural Parasite in this series.
That did used to be a thing, though, right? Like with Ultralisks as well, like just being able. I feel like in the old days it happened. I don't know. Back when Infestors had, it was before the range nerf on Neural Parasite. Maybe when Infested Terrans were better.
There may have been a time when Frenzy wasn't an ability on the
it was before Frenzy.
Right, yeah.
I thought it was one of the reasons Frenzy got added.
Most likely. That's a long time ago where everything's kind of vague in my memory. I was probably playing Terran at the time.
It's ancient history, yeah. The build orders were written in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics.
Back when we played on Steps of War. Thankfully, it's a new, beautiful time where we are now on the floor of the ocean.
You can build a barracks at 8 supply with no depot.
Oh, yeah. Don't even remind me.
The good old days. Don't you remember? Those are the good old days.
Go back under your bridge. Get out of here, man. Don't even talk about those times. That's sacrilege.
All right. How do we feel about these openings then? Anything jumping out to you? It looks like, what was it, just like a pool first versus hatch first, but no insane commitment to aggression?
Players falling into a pattern here. Once again, Elazer going for the much more ballsy hatch gas pool. And of course, this is a little bit vulnerable to any sort of early pool, and he doesn't know if that's what Snute's going for. So he started the spine crawler, and he's actually a little bit slow to cancel it since maybe he's going to let that finish since he does know this is a later hatchery, and therefore it is a pool first opening. So interesting, Elazer here building 2 more queens as well, taking this situation very seriously.
Well, Snute is getting that Baneling nest as his speed completes, and he's got a decent number of Zerglings on the way, so the option for him to put the pedal to the metal is certainly there. And his Zerglings will see these larvae pop, or these eggs, excuse me, pop open to be more lings. So he has to ask himself, is that what's coming, or is that just his first couple of lings to push mine away?
I sense a little bit of nerves here in Elazer, building a queen, so many queens, 4 queens and a spine crawler. When your opponent hasn't really shown any definite signs of aggression, a little bit much, Snute's just going to do a bit of light pressure here. He's actually droned quite hard. He's been up on Elazer until just now where Elazer's caught up to him. And yeah, I'm feeling good about these openings for Snute. He's the one with that Baneling tech, and he can do just about anything he wants on this map. He can just poke around, or he can commit to a lot of pressure, but I think that'd be a bad idea once he sees all of these queens.
Ooh, these lings are going to try to run back into the main base. Snute gets inside of the main base of Elazer. A couple of these lings are here to defend, but the queens have to slowly waddle across that creepless area. He's going to try to just get them out. All right, not able to grab too much. Did lose most of the lings. He got information. And he's still just droning a bit back home. He needs to be cautious now. Losing that many Zerglings, Elazer could try to put some pressure back on him.
It's funny, that kind of worked out for Elazer. The queens in the spine there kind of made Snute sense a bit of weakness. He said, hey, there's an opening. If you've got all this defense, surely you don't have any Zerglings. He went in there, and then a whole bunch of Elazer Zerglings came back and trapped him. And good Baneling hit with the first one. Second one doesn't really get much purchase there, but Snute, he's hanging on to his third. He's in an okay position. Both players tied neck and neck in workers. And once again, Elazer just not wanting to play Baneling Wars against Snute. He is skipping the Baneling nest, going straight up to Lair and Evo.
That's a good point. Common theme of this series is actually the lack of Banelings on the part of Elazer. Kind of makes me wonder if we're going to see Snute maybe try one of those big Ling plays at some point in this best of 7, but as you pointed out, he is going straight for the Roach phase. The Lair is on the way. He's actually almost done. He's got his +1 missile attack coming in. His Roach Warren is coming in, so he'll time out nicely to get Roach speed as soon as that's ready to go. And then maybe we'll see him go for the Spire again. I guess it's hard to say. But Snute has that third going up much, much, much earlier than Elazer. So does Elazer have to commit to something to deal with this? Or like taking a late third at this point, is it worth it?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have to. And look at the work account, man. This is actually kind of crazy. I don't know if Elazer even plans to drone. He had a big supply block before. And I think now he might just go for an all-in, realizing it's a little bit too late to catch up on the drones. This is a nice snipe for Snute, but this is actually a fake hatchery right here.
Oh, no, cancel.
Oh, that's huge. That's actually really big. Now we can't afford to replace it If Snute catches wind of that there's no third hatch going down, that's going to be a big tell about the fact that all Elazer is doing right now is massing roaches. And you know what? I think Snute's already read this situation so well. He's got +1 on the way in roach speed, but he has completely cut drones. He's got a small yet healthy lead, and he's just going to keep making roaches.
He's using his overlords to poop out the creep across and make a little bit of a highway for him to cross and
Snute doesn't see.
Bring the queens to help fight against this as he gets to work on the rocks.
He just built 6 more drones. He doesn't see the queens. Finally, he sees the push. He needed to get that warning. He starts up more queens of his own defensively. Lots and lots of roaches on the way. Luckily, Snute, knowing that he was in the dark, he built extra overlords specifically so that he wouldn't have to queue them up if he saw an attack coming. This allows him to prepare his defenses much quicker.
And as these rocks get broken down, this is going to be the area where Elazer tries to make his push to take game number 4 if he can crack this one open, as he is still just on 2 bases versus the 3-base Team Liquid player. All Snute has to do is hold the door, Jared. If he can defend this position, he will win this game. There's not really much of a follow-up here on 2 bases for Elazer.
His +1 and roach speed have both kicked in, up against no upgrades on the roaches here of Snute. So Snute here, he's got the numbers, but he does not have the quality. Elazer has the much better army. He's got the transfusers, but it's a bit smaller. I don't know if he can break through this concave. Look at that angle.
A beautiful spread for Snute around this army. Pulls back just in time to dodge those biles, even using some of these drones since he's so far ahead to help try and cover and tank. He does want to kill the opposing Ravagers. He lands a couple of biles on those Ravagers, but is it going to be enough? Elazer's continuing to push forward through this army. The roach count for Snute dwindling. He's lost a good amount of that drone lead so far, but will the reinforcements be able to recover this for him? He's stepping forward. He's trying to snipe. Beautiful transfuse so far as he finally kills off the Ravagers.
Oh, this was so close, but Snute just barely has the numbers to hang on. The Zerglings flooding in will not be enough.
GG, Snute holds and moves up to 1 game away from becoming the champion, our 2nd champion in the WCS circuit this year.
Impressive play there from Snute. That was such a technical push. The sheer number of transfuses that Elazer had there, oh my gosh, his roaches were such better quality. I thought the angle there for Snute, there was no way Elazer could break it, but Elazer was so close. If he had just a few more units, he would have done it.
That +1 helps so much, and Snute was trying to get it, but he made the intelligent read that, okay, well, it's not going to finish in time. He canceled the upgrade to get out a few more of those units, and really just showing the crisis management capabilities. He's 1 game away from winning the grand finals here against, basically like one of your first-time performers, Elazer, on the stage this late in the tournament, trying to get that big W. Snute coming back to former glory.
And what a return it is. Elazer there needs to dig deep. He will need to win the next 3 maps in a row. Blood Boil, Sequencer, and then Defender's Landing if he wants to bring this back. It's a monumental task, but he definitely could be up to it. And this is just such a crazy situation. Seeing such an aggressive player as Elazer to have his attack blocked time and time again. Only that 1 map has it actually managed to work so far. He keeps bringing out the timing attacks, but Snute, he's just looking to get into a good place on the board. He's not looking to go for any gambles. He's not taking any risks at all.
He is not. He's played very safe, very smart so far in this series, and Elazer has thrown a lot of different looks, a lot of different aggressive timings his way, and he's been able to deal with them very well. We are going to hear the thoughts from the boys at the desk and take a little bit of a listen in on their ideas.
Strong start and even a middle here of this series so far here from Snute, currently 3-1, 1 map away from confirming himself at the global finals over at BlizzCon. Boys, what do you make of the series so far here? Elazer's having a bit of a hard time in this Zerg versus Zerg.
Snute is absolutely on point. He's active everywhere. That last game, getting that cancel on the hatchery, and then figuring out early it was going to be an attack, definitely played a key role in him making exactly enough units, and I think defenders advantage and just getting ahead in supply, getting ahead in the game and winning it.
The supply never lies. Maybe having being able to see a couple of series already from Elazer, as he was able to watch Elazer go up against True. I mean, that's kind of the same thing as Elazer tried to do against True. Obviously, every game is unique, but perhaps it did give Snute a heads up. Hey, be worried about stuff like this. queens can march their way to the other side of the map. And, you know, just an excellent series so far. I said in the previous series that Snute looked bulletproof. Well, this series so far solid as a rock as well. Like, he's just not making any mistakes. It's like the last 5-6 months have never happened.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're still watching old school Snute, who's just slapping attacks around left, right, and center, and he's not really breaking a sweat.
We've time warped back to 2016, 2015, it seems like, for Snute. How much of this on Elazer's side is nerves? I feel like he's executing the same plans that he has in the past Zerg vs. Zergs, but they're just not going his way.
It's hard to tell, you know, like it could just be Snute just playing way better, but at the same time, even if he wasn't that nervous before, at this point, being down 1 in 3 and with that last attack just not working at all, he's definitely going to start feeling the pressure there. So he needs to stay composed, and ideally for him, play his best, but it's going to be really tough because Snute right now is just an absolute fire.
I believe we're heading into Blood Bowl now as well. Now, that is a map where he did look pretty all right earlier, and this is also a map that doesn't really favor any sort of aggression. Of course, you can do cool stuff with drops like we saw him do earlier, and it can be a map that can get very chaotic later on if you have tunneling claws roaches, because if you knock down those rocks at the bottom, they can just come in from all the angles. But early game, you know, a lot of these Zergs are excellent in defending any sort of aggression, so just macro up and maybe try to actually go up to lurkers like you did against Nurture, because that was a game where his ZvZ looked excellent. And Elazer is known for aggression, and that's not bad. But you know, if it's not working, then don't feel like you're stuck in this cycle of like, maybe try this timing, maybe try this timing. Like, have confidence. I mean, he is Elazer. He's one of the absolute best there is in Europe. So try to take it to those later stages of ZvZ. That's the only thing I can say right now.
It's going to be very hard for Elazer to pick a build order there, because if he was planning on doing certain timings or lanes, there is no room left for mistakes. He loses a map, that's it. Then Snute's the champion.
All right, well, we are ready to go back into this series, into this best of 7. Snute 1 game away from being crowned our WCS Valencia champion.
No room left for error. I think the boys at the desk said it as best they could, Pig. If Elazer wants to win this, he has to take the rest of the games in this tournament. 3 in a row is his only hope, and that means another timing attack, another all-in, is flipping the coin on fate in a championship seed to the global playoffs. Is it worth it to risk it?
That's the question he's got to be asking himself right now. Is he going to change his approach, or will he stick with what he's been doing so far? We're going to have to find out in just a moment, as we are going into this map number 5. It is going to be Blood Boil.
We have loaded into potentially the last game of WCS Valencia. If this man wins this map, he wins the crown, and with it, a ticket to the global playoffs. In the top left position as the blue Zerg, we have Liquid Snute. Gave a great interview earlier. Seemed very fired up. He was feeling it. He feels this is his tournament, and he has really put on a hell of a show.
And this man, he has the monumental task of taking 4 games in a row, 3 games in a row to equalize in the red down here in the bottom right. It is Elazer.
It's a nice little Nation War sign out there. I can't read that, unfortunately. I'm very limited in my ignorant understanding of foreign languages.
Me and you both, brother.
Well, they make us take Spanish in American high school as well. And I still failed miserably when I came here.
Yeah, I did some French in like 7th grade. I've forgotten everything. So me and you both, just lazy English-speaking people, unfortunately. And looking at the builders in this game, Nate, looks like we're going to see some more 3-hatch action. Lots and lots of roaches, no doubt, will be on the menu. And the secret to Elazer's success on this map against Nurture, exact same sort of build layout, was just to be very greedy, and Nurture played a little bit conservatively, a little bit safe. However, we've seen Snute just stay toe-to-toe on the drone count with Elazer, even when he's being greedy. And I feel like the moment Elazer starts being aggressive, no matter what happens, Snute kind of just edges his way ahead in the workers in the midst of it.
Yeah, I liked looking at the APM at the very start. You usually see it spike crazy high for both players, but Snute's actually very low. He's not spamming. He's been actually very chill. Meanwhile, Elazer's like breaking 300 nonstop. He's just like super focused. He's like, yeah, I got to bring this back. I got to do this. And you know, there are a couple moments where Snute's just like dipping. He's like, yeah, I mean, I'm building what I need. I'm feeling comfortable. It's no rush. It's no pressure. And I think what you just said is very interesting to consider because that's how Snoot's been playing this series. Safe, conservatively, just doing his thing. And if Elazer's response is to try and match that, now that he's down 1-3, it's, well, it's going to be very tough. You're putting everything on just straight up outplaying him.
It's so hard, right? Because with Snute, he's got that experience. It feels like he kind of knows what's going to happen before it happens. He's so good at reading the play and just preparing himself for many different options, scouting to see what's actually happening, and then adjusting his game plan as he goes on. So Elazer here, I feel like already with these openings, he's being forced to play. Obviously, he's not going to this with a clear, I'm just going to do this one big attack. He's going to have a much more flexible game plan.
Yeah, too risky. You have so much on the line, so much money, the WCS playoff ticket, as well as being able to say, hey, I won the big tournament. I got the trophy. Those trophies are really nice. Talking to Neem about it, he's like, yeah, just don't even know what to do with them anymore. There's so many lying around.
Yeah, that's a good problem to have. A lot of pro gamers want to have that one. I'm sure Snute would love to add one to his trophy case as well. Snute gets the scout off. Sees pretty much everything. Saw the gas timing. And of course, Elazer in the back of Snute's base at the same time. They've both seen pretty much identical gas timings for that first gas geyser for both players. But Elazer here dropping down a lot more gases behind that. I have a feeling we might be seeing some mutt-mutts here.
Playing for the tech perhaps a bit earlier. Again, I think Elazer has shown his proficiency towards that earlier in this series. We talked about that Ascension to Ire game. Wasn't really able to make the most of it because the Roach timing hit so hard from Snute. And there we have that Roach Horn coming in with the Evolution Chamber, with the Lair. Not quite the Roach Horn just yet. Elazer throws the Lair up a little bit. Well,
yeah, looks like he's going to go roaches as well, I guess. Just wanting to get all that gas down at once. I mean, both players have exploded in the mineral count really hard, so they're just going to be powering on up into that Roach play. It looks like it will be almost identical builds for both players, and Overlord speed on the way for Elazer. Looks like we're going to get to see some more of those Roach drops that he pulled out in his series earlier today. I would love to see a little bit more of that. That was actually part of what picked True apart. And made it very difficult for him. And Snute, not a guy to rush towards Mutalisks, so definitely won't have any hard counter for that.
Interesting to see where he goes with this, how much they're able to get done. We talked about the upgrades, we talked about the timings, the layers, and all that, but it's so close this game. Doesn't seem like either player should have a huge lead in terms of where that tech goes. Maybe the follow-up will be a bit more interesting from Elazer because of that extra gas that he's been mining for a bit earlier that we talked about.
Yeah, definitely could be. I'm curious to see if Snute, he's got a fourth base on the way already. Both players do, wow. Just powering up for a huge macro game. Both players scouting around.
Very greedy builds from both players at this point.
A few more slow zerglings going in for Elazer there.
Pig, you mentioned this before. He's got 2 drop Overlords on the way. Overlord speed has already been researched. What is he's going to play like Terran style?
Yeah,
drops all over?
Hey, when there's only a queen to pick away at you, you can just drop in and out. I'm sure you've done it to so many Zergs on the ladder. Just pick up those roaches whenever the opponent reacts to it.
Tough to deal with. I mean, this is a good map for drops. You have a lot of different angles you can hit from, and of course, there's that frontal assault always. This one hero Zergling, cheeky little Link spots it. If Snoot's aware, nice. You see those 2 Overlords, you're like, well, that is not normal. Those Overlords, they look a little extra gassy.
Yeah, his queens are moving to respond as well. Snute taking that very seriously. He's going for his own infestation pit, so it looks like Roach, Ravager, Infester, a composition we saw him make an immaculate comeback against Elazer earlier today with, and he's going to be using it again. He is such a scary player with those Ravager, Corrosive Bile, Fungal combo. If he can land that, it will do massive damage.
All right, let's see how he handles this drop as it comes in. 2 Infestors are on the way for Elazer behind this. The 4 Queens are in position, but he's going to pull back. Up. Don't lose the full Overlord. Okay. No, not quite. He wants to get in there and drop them. Bit risky, I guess, to drop straight on top of the Queens. He didn't want to chance that.
Yeah, he would have lost all those roaches, and you really want to use this just as a threat as much as anything else.
You don't want to actually commit them.
Yeah, only when your opponent's kind of distracted or out of position, right? It's a way of creating more threats. Normally, the opponent only has to worry about counterattacks into the 4th and maybe the front as well. But if you suddenly say, hey, I can drop roaches here, here, and here, what does Snute do? Does he have to build spine crawlers everywhere? Does he leave a squad of roaches at home? It just makes everything much more uncomfortable for Snute, and it gives Elazer a chance if Snute gets out of position to just do massive damage to the drone lines.
All right, so opening up opportunities for himself by keeping this drop option open. He goes towards the right side, and I believe from the sensor tower, or the Zolnaga watchtower, he's able to see this roach drop as it comes over.
He's just going to join it up with his army.
Together.
He's got some infestors coming in as well. He's got some roaches trying to run in on the left-hand side. They're going to dart on into that natural. Elazer pulling Snute a little bit out of position. He's going to try and jump on in here. Snute not far behind him, hot on his heels. He actually pulled a lot of units away from the front. And Elazer just going to try and find as many drone kills as he can.
Yep, he sees as he gets into this base, as the Queens pull forward, the whole army is there. So his main force will try to go up towards that northeast base, but drops the juicy fungal, hits some biles onto those roaches. Not a lot of Ravagers here to do those biles with. And Snute just trying to defend against this as Elazer pushes into trade at this northeast expansion.
Those units flanking it from the left-hand side just in time to shut this attack down. Snute taking a very good fight there. Meanwhile, the Roach in the main base will take out that Queen. Stopped attacking it. Bad Roach. Finish her. Finish her. There we go. Takes her down. Is going to take out a couple more drones as well. Nice little bit of economic damage, but the army for Snute is way better. Elazer, though, he's got +1 extra carapace upgrade, and his +2 is almost finished. Snute completely forgot to start his +2 range.
So Snute needs to make something really big happen here then with this upgrade deficit, right, Pig? Otherwise, things could spiral out of control as this army gets more and more powerful for our Polish server.
I don't think he realizes that he's forgotten it. He must have just... It's completely skipped his mind. He must have thought he clicked on that, but he actually hasn't. And now with Infestors and superior upgrades out for Elazer, I gotta say... Here he is maxed out. He's got the much better army right now. His +2 is about to finish just in time for this engagement.
Yep, throws out the biles, but that +2 is done. These roaches are extremely fierce. He's ahead 2 whole upgrades for whatever fight comes next. And also, of course, we see that Overlord going across map to try and hit the drop. Can Snute punch this one in? He had the supply lead earlier, but it has dwindled so much. Oh, and the beautiful fungal all over his roaches as he has Burrow done to hide the infestors. And those upgrades allow him to rip and tear through Snute's army.
Great engagement there by Elazer. Snute tried to wrap around. He took a decent engagement, but the upgrades just aren't good enough for him with that roach drop in the main base at the same time. Elazer showing us some fantastic play here on Blood Boil. Look at that lead, Nathaniel.
Look at the supply. Oh my goodness, Pig. He's down 134 to 171. Those burrowed roaches arise from their burrows underground and begin to ravage the main once more. They can head over to that northwest base, and this is an extremely frustrating, difficult position to play from for Snute. It seems that Elazer has hit his timing and hit it damn well.
He only just now starts that +2 upgrade. A few more infestors on the way, but Snute not even mining in his main base right now. His worker count looks okay. His base count looks okay, but he's just so far down in the army, so far behind in the upgrades, and I think Elazer's gearing up for one more big push. He wants to use this advantage, doesn't want to just sit on all these resources.
He does not. I mean, he's getting his own +2 attack, but man, he's got one hell of a hill to climb if he wants to be able to take this game. Even when he gets that +2 attack, he's still going to be behind because of the Carapace upgrade, and +2 Carapace is on the way for Elazer now. So he's going to get even further and further ahead in these upgrades. He has the Infestors as well to supplement this force.
This is a good feeling for Elazer. When your army backs away from a choke point like that, you know you have the army advantage. Lands a stick fungal in the middle of that. Great engagement so far from Elazer.
Yep, he's really trying to get this position posture around. We see the Infestor does get one fungal down for Snute. He's able to throw the biles out across it, but does he have enough to finish this force off with that upgrade deficit?
Best angling you could possibly get from Snute. Such a sick engagement. The upgrades, though, might just be too strong here for Elazer. Looks like both armies are going to trade out, even though Snute took such a superior engagement. Fungling those units on the ramp, he trapped them in a funnel. Most of them were stuck behind each other. And yet, even despite that, the 2-1 upgrade's just so much better. Elazer still doing very well.
Snute hanging in there as best he can. I will say he landed some pretty sick corrosive biles during that fight. Of course, those aren't going to be affected by the armor. And our observer is pointing out to us there's 2 full energy infestors. Hashtag just chillin'.
Oh man, they decided to take a smoke break, realized the boss didn't even know they were gone, and they decided to make it pretty much permanent. Clocked in and just went out to have some fun at the arcade. And Elazer will be a little bit annoyed by that one, but he's still just got such a big roach army. Even without the infestors, it's going to be very hard for Snute to defend.
Snute is very close to getting his own +2 attack upgrade, which will help turn the tide, but is it going to be enough? It is ready. The Roach battle ensues onward, but don't forget that Carapace upgrade advantage is still there for Elazer. He still has the bigger army, and that should be enough to help him crack open this northeast base. He dives on top of this army, focuses down the Infestor, and these Ravagers are on the run.
Decisive push here from Elazer. He knew he had that advantage. His Roaches have been so annoying in the back, even adding a few more drone kills in the midst of this, but these Roaches here focusing down the last of Snute's valuable Ravagers. And this has just been such good usage of the distraction of that Roach.
The Burrow Roach harass has also been amazing. Snute down in workers, down in supply, down in upgrades, and he's going to tap out of this game. Elazer brings the series a little bit closer. He's still got to win the next 2 games if he wants to take the trophy.
And the first step is the hardest down that road. When you're staring at a 1-3 scoreline, it always feels like an impossible task. Now it just feels like a difficult one. And, of course, both players going to have to collect themselves after that one. I think the next map is so important right now. I think Snute would love to win this, because if he doesn't win here, he's going to have to go to Defender's Landing, Nate.
Yep, you said it best, Pig. During that game, Snute had a really good thing going, but for some reason just didn't get that +2 attack upgrade. Thought that maybe the opportunity was there for him to make it happen, but it wasn't.
Yeah, not at all. I think I mean, at the point it was, with how delayed it was, he must have just thought he had that one going, and then realized, well, after all those engagements were being lost, even when he took good angles, he was kind of like shaking his head, no doubt, saying, why am I losing these fights so badly?
Maybe he didn't realize that the Carapace upgrade was there. When they had that first fight, Elazer was at 1-1 very early on, and Snute only had the +1 attack, something that can be deceivingly huge in terms of the impact that it has on those fights. But Sequencer is the last normal map that's going to be available if Snute wants to play a straight-up game to take this championship. I mean, this is going to be it, right? Anything can happen if we go to that final map.
I heard a couple of quotation marks in your voice there as you said normal for Sequencer, because it is a bit of a weird map still, right?
It has its nuances, to be sure.
Long distance, lots of choke points. Definitely one where we've seen a lot of Nidus Worms from the Polish players. Elazer tried to do one earlier today as well against Nurtio. I believe it was him that tried it against Nurtio. It didn't quite work out. But yeah, we've seen some Nidus Worms on this map just to get rid of that rush distance. I think we've seen it on Korea in the GSL as well. And Mutalisks, of course, always going to be good on a map with a large rush distance.
All right, let's see. Can this man close it out if he wins this game? He is the 2nd Circuit champion of the year, of course, because Neeb won twice. Give it up for Snute.
Facing off against him in the top right-hand side of the map, the red Zerg, it is Elazer.
The Sequencer, as you mentioned, it is a long map. I say normal in a relative sense.
It is not too crazy.
Yeah. Relative to Defender's Landing, it's a pretty straightforward map, but the choke points do add an interesting dynamic for ZvZ, especially because we see those Infestors, the Corrosive Biles, the ability for that AoE damage to swing the tides of these fights is even more exacerbated on maps like this, because you are forced to go through chokes nonstop. And that also helps with the counterattacks, side swipes, all of those moves, those flanks. You have to be cautious every step of the way.
They become more of the focus, don't they, the counterattacks? Whenever you've got these defensive areas where a smaller army can defend against a bigger army using those choke points, often you'll see a player with the advantage try to press that by splitting their army up into multiple pieces, send those counterattacks in. Of course, tunneling claws, something else which is so great because your bases start to get so spread out on this map.
Tunneling claws especially, we've seen quite a bit of that used in the ZvZ so far in this tournament, and it's always fun to see that. Really stresses the multitasking to an insane degree. It allows you, as you said, with lower numbers of units, to really get that same impact with your harass, with your attacks, everything that you want to do. And so far this game, it looks like we finally have Snute playing to the pace of Elazer, not opening with that crazy defensive build either.
I like to see it.
And just both going straight up.
You know,
speed opening.
In such an important game, it's always hard to feel safe doing a hatchery first on a map where your opponent's known for all-inning. But Snute here, gonna do it. Gonna say that long rush distance, my experience.
Yeah.
I know I've still got a good shot at defending any early pool. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna take that little bit of the economic advantage as much as I can.
And I guess it also comes down to you can see that Elazer probably feeling a little bit more confident since he was able to win that game that went a little bit longer in the last map on Blood Boil. So he's like, well, maybe I don't need to cheese. And I think if you're Snute, you also have to consider that as well. He probably not too shy to play another long game. How do you feel about this though, Pig? Snoot's taking the half base. Elazer's going straight for the normal third.
And both players have pulled off gas. Elazer left one on gas, so he's kind of barely mining it, which means no Baneling Nest is on the way. Elazer could drop one, but he wouldn't really have much gas for Banelings. It's probably going to be straight into Roach Tech off lots of Speedlings from both players. And you can see there that Snute has started up that Zergling production a lot earlier. So he's the one who wants to be aggressive. And I mean, Elazer's base is a little bit more exposed because he took that one out in the front.
I wouldn't mind seeing this big Speedling play. You know, we talked about this earlier. Elazer has been skipping the Baneling Nest every game, right? He hasn't been opting for that as an early defensive play. And I mean, Snoot's still cranking out drones behind this, so he's not committing to like a mass Speedling all in. Although I almost wouldn't have minded seeing that just because there's been no Baneling Nest from Elazer.
Not wanting to gamble, though, of course, here. Snute would love to close the game out. He sees too many queens there. He doesn't realize there's a third base over to the left. He's just engaging into the queens, which he cannot do right now. There's just a few too many units there on the defense for Elazer. Snute maybe had a small window to get the third. No, he does see that third base. Surprised he didn't try to force the engagement over there, looking for a little bit of a more direct engagement. But behind that, the drones are looking good.
And Elazer, look at that. There's that Baneling Nest we were talking about. Finally coming out. He's still cranking out a ton of Zerglings. So
wow.
It looks like he might be about to roll the dice here, to put all his chips in and try to equalize this series with a really big attack. He's added a few drones behind this, but he's got a lot of Zerglings to work with to try and put more pressure on his Snute.
Oh, he has one speed right now, and that is full speed ahead for Elazer. Non-stop Zergling production. He's just started droning a ton of Lings coming across. His Baneling Nest is about to finish. He is going to try to break Snute right now. Snute desperately trying to wall off. He needs to get more queens in that wall. He doesn't have a Baneling Nest at home. His Roach Warren's not quite ready.
And the queens are there. The follow-up queens there to help defend against this. He's got his lair booting up, but the lair quite a bit faster, it appeared, for Snute in the midst of all of this. He has that Roach Horn, so he can move up to that tech path very quickly. +1. Missile attack is going to start up. Of course, this evolution chamber being a part of the wall means that upgrade could get canceled pretty soon.
Yeah, the Baneling Nest did get cancelled there for Elazer. Great observing there by Funker, catching that. So looks like Elazer wants to just go into Roaches behind this, wants to just try and take a good fight. And look at this angling. He keeps trying to force those Zerglings through the choke point.
They found the smallest possible place they could fight. And like, all right, this is where we're going to do it.
Great angling from Elazer as well to keep forcing him to fight there, so he had just more surface area and does take a nice little trade. But we've got to remember, Elazer committed so much to Zerglings. He built that Baneling Nest, partially before canceling it, and he didn't get any damage done. You can see it reflected in the worker count now. Snute, he's just so good at getting added workers. Yeah, he took a base with a few less resources, but because of that, he was able to defend with what? A couple of buildings and a queen. Because of that, he defended a huge attack, and now he's way ahead.
Look at this switch up from Elazer, too. We have him going for +1 melee and a Spire. These links from Snute, they're going to see it. He knows. Huge. And there's no Roach Horn to be found either. So this should be an indicator to him that what else could it be but this Ling Muta style. And he's going to try to poke up here, but there are Roaches. That low ground base is, well, not started yet, but he doesn't have to worry about it as much because he has the contained safe base, even if it's a half base.
Look at that.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't think those Zerglings spotted it. I'm not sure if they did or not. We're going to find out. No, they didn't quite get vision of that Nidus Worm. So Elazer has no idea. There is going to be a huge Roach Queen assault. Non-stop Queens, Roaches in production. Snute going to go for a surprise Nidus Worm. Does he have any spotting units once this Overlord goes down?
I don't think so. He's got an Overlord in the northeast, so he can use that to build a Nidus just outside the rocks. He might be able to move it up in time to do it there. He's not turning it into an Overseer, so he's not going to try to commit this anywhere inside. He's going to start this. This is a bit of a slower march from the outside area.
Looks like there's going to be +1 in Roach Speed done for Snute here. No Roach Speed, just the +1. But Roach Speed and +1 are only just now starting for Elazer, and there is the scream of the Nidus Worm. The Queens and Roaches popping out like crazy here. Elazer not quite ready for this. He's got some Ravagers trying to morph. Zerglings and Roaches coming in. He takes a good angle. The transfusers for Snute are good on the front line, though, reinforcing those Roaches. The numbers for Elazer looking quite good, though.
Yeah, that Defender's advantage, being able to produce those units very quickly up there. The Roaches, without their speed, he didn't drop a tumor when the queens came out, but they do have that upgrade advantage. Of course, these slow queens will not be able to dodge those biles, and Elazer pushes Snute back from whence he came. That last queen escaping into the Nidus. And keep in mind, after all of this, it's not 3 base versus 3 base, it's 2.5 versus 3 base. Those extra geysers will help Elazer throttle forward with his tech, whereas Snute has a much more limited income off of the base because of that one less gas geyser. And how is he going to deal with this? Now there's Mutas coming out too, and he just lost almost all of his queens.
Yeah, that's really, really tough. I don't know how he's gonna manage to hang on in this one. We've got a lot of Roach Ravager coming over for Elazer right now. Just wants to push on in, not even waiting for the Mutalisks. He knows Snoot's preparing for those Mutas. He's just gonna shove his way forward. Elazer here defends the push, comes out with a beautiful counter swing. I think he might tie it up.
The Mutas have arrived, and the Queens will not be able to defend this on their own as the Ravagers and Roaches have blitzed their way through Snoot's defenses. Elazer going up 50-60 supply now, overrunning the Team Liquid Zerg player. The drones with their mandibles munching on those Ravagers will not be enough to turn the tides of this battle. Doubling the supply is Elazer, coming back from that 1-3 deficit to tie up this series. He has blown away the defenses of Snute.
Beautiful play here from Elazer to stop that push, which he had no idea was coming. Beautiful.
An amazing game played by Elazer to bring it back. Look at that. Putting the finger up. He's like, yeah, man, I got this. Ties things up, and now it all comes down. It all comes down to Defender's Landing.
This would be absolutely wild if we could see Elazer win a third map in a row to bring it back. Both players now are in the exact same position, both tied 3-3 in this best of 7. The next map will decide everything. It will be on Defender's Landing, a small, aggressive, action-packed map. And everything rests on this one, Nate.
This is it. One game to determine a new champion for the World Championship Series circuit events this year. Before we go to our final event in Montreal in September, who will get that sweet, sweet spot, that golden ticket, as it were, to the global playoffs? We are about to find out one more game to answer all questions. And that last game, things got a bit hectic. We were talking about that long range on the map. You mentioned the Mutas, you mentioned the Nidus. Pig, what are we in store for on Defender's Landing? One of, if not what, the shortest maps in this pool?
Absolutely the shortest. It's such a wild map. There's so many options available, and it really is such a wild beast because of that. We're definitely going to see players playing much safer, maybe much more aggressively, going into that Roach tech very quickly, no doubt, as the Roaches can get across the map so fast. So Roach pushes are much more frightening here. A lot more crazy options. Not something I want to put out a specific prediction on, but I do want to say just how impressed I am here, especially with Elazer's improvement in terms of his composure on these stages. Recently competing in the GSL in Korea, he qualified for that. He unfortunately was knocked out by the previous season's champion, but I can just see the effect all of this travel, all this experience competing around the world is having.
It seemed like he was rattled after that 3-1 deficit, right? I mean, you're basically on your deathbed. You have to win 3 games in a row, but he picked up those next 2. And this is crazy. I think the people in the chat, the votes, the confidence was definitely towards Snute. He is a fan favorite, bar none. But I think maybe seeing Elazer picking up some new fans from this tournament. He has definitely been playing extremely well. He's taken out some amazing players to get here. But now it's time to find out who will actually get that trophy. One last map to end this tournament you've been watching, WCS Valencia. This is the final game. In the bottom left position as the blue Zerg player, we have Snute.
The pressure's on now. He's let 2 maps slip. It all comes down to this one, and standing in his way, making a miraculous clawback in this series. In the red, it is Elazer.
Lots of cheers, lots of people coming here watching this grand final. Thank you all for tuning in live and online. I'm sure there's many people spamming basically the same thing as those cheers in the chat. You guys have been awesome all weekend long, and you will be very happy by the end of this game one way or another, as it has been quite a grueling back and forth grand finals.
And we're seeing something very aggressive out of Snute, Nate. Something very uncharacteristic for our Norwegian Zerg. He, in the bottom, has gone for a very fast spawning pool and gas. He is making Zergling speed. He's pulled off gas. He's going to go for a huge speedling rush and expand behind it. But this has got to do a lot of damage. He cannot just settle for scraps. He can't just take a little trade. He has to do a lot against Elazer's pool first opening.
He has to get a lot of damage done. He's putting a lot on the line. He's putting the championship on the line with this aggressive play. Failing here, losing one step could spell disaster for his chance at that beautiful trophy that the camera was just showing on the main stage. The Lings are going around towards that natural. Elazer, he's got the hatch halfway done. He doesn't really have a lot of units to work with right now, just the standard 6 Lings on the way. What is he going to be able to make of this? The Overlord did spot some of them coming across.
He has shown his hand now. The Zerglings have been spotted here. And of course, he wants to get the hands to the cancel on that hatchery. But Elazer, despite not seeing any signs of this, has played very safe. He's built 6 Zerglings for himself. And already the skirmishing begins. That hatchery getting very low. Elazer not bringing his queen to the low ground. Doesn't want to risk it. Oh, she's starting to make her way down now. More Zerglings coming down. Snute here. He's trying to get this hatchery, but there's just a lot of units coming down. Support for Elazer. I don't know if Snute's going to be able to get it.
Elazer's got to be careful too. Zergling speed is done. He can dance on the positioning of the queen, tucking herself between the two Vespine geysers. Beautiful positioning, but is it going to be enough, Pig? She has been taken out, and now he has the option to dive on this mineral line instead of the main base or go for the natural. He is going to go for the drones just a little bit, nibbling away at them. A lot of Lings are coming out for Elazer. His window to kill this hatchery is just about gone. He's going to target it down.
Yeah, the queen's going down was big there. Snute going to get this hatchery before that queen comes out. He's got to do that because if there's 2 queens, the surround on those Zerglings was fantastic. But a lot more Zerglings coming out. You're right, Nate. He is running out of time. He's going to have to just click on that hatchery soon. I think he's trying to fight Zergling to Zergling. And oh my gosh, the hatchery is still standing, but it is so bruised.
Yeah, Snute has more Lings coming across. He's trying to overwhelm this. He could take the game, but that hatchery still stands. I mean, for the question being, of course, how long? If Snute goes for that focus fire, he has the potential to get it with the queens fighting with the Ling support. It's very difficult for him. Man, finishing that hatchery would have been so big. So much extra larva production now available for Elazer.
He's up a queen. No, actually, sorry, 2 queens apiece. Snute did build a second queen, but he's up 3 workers. And that is big at this stage of the game. There isn't a big economy for both players. Snute wants to finish off this hatchery. He's looking almost over-eager. You can feel he's a little bit tense. He wants to get some more damage done. He's taking a fight in range of the queens. This is not where you want to fight, Snute.
That queen support so strong. Both players still cranking out Zerglings. Pedal to the metal. And what is he to do? All this invested, all this commitment, not able to put himself ahead. He's got a few Lings. All right, these 4 Lings are going to be the snipers to try to pick off this hatchery. They're going to go for it. The hatch down to 50 hit points, 30. There's the transfuse. He's not going to be able to pick it off. 150 health left on that hatchery.
Elazer saving that hatchery is massive. It's still a weak point. If Snute can get that snipe, it's going to be really big for him. But I think now it's a little bit tougher. There's about 120 hit points left on that hatchery. More Zerglings coming in here, but they might be trapped.
He made the aggressive call to go for the drones earlier on, and that gave a lot of time for Elazer to get out what he needed to defend this base. We have a spine crawler
counterattack
being built back home, and there's the counter coming in onto the queens of Snute. Does he have enough to defend against this? His own Lings are coming back. There's the transfuse. Drones are actually going to come out to break out the boxing gloves and help hold this push. But it seems Snute will stand strong for now. But man, that hatchery is going to be a nightmare for him if he loses this game. Something to be very sad about for a long time, as it has amplified the production, the counterattack capabilities so much of Elazer.
All the queens go down. Every single one of Snute's queens went down. He's only just starting to rebuild them now. Yeah, he's got 2 more workers, but 4 queens moving out on the map for Elazer, sniping down Overlords, looking like they want to push in, and he's still got the Zergling advantage.
Yep, no Baneling nests here means it's just a pure battle of numbers. Ling versus Ling, fighting in these chokes, fighting on creep, trying to get the surrounds. The Ling count does favor Elazer just a little bit. He's starting to push him back. He needs to be so careful when these queens arrive. He doesn't have any much else to counter this. 4 queens plus all of these Zerglings when Snute is just now at 1 single queen inside of his main base.
Defender's landing. This is the madness you see here. Just pulling all of his queens across the map. Elazer doesn't even have queens at home to inject right now. He's not droning at all. He's going all in with this attack. He needs to try and kill Snute right here. Snute's only just got one more queen out. These queens in the back, oh man, they are going to provide so much damage, so much tanking. Second queen about to pop here for Snute. He's got to be so upset that he cancelled that spine crawler now. The Zerglings of Elazer coming in, the queens as well, providing so much support.
That hatchery, a true nightmare for Snute, coming back to haunt him as Elazer makes this push. He has ravaged the queens, he's killed the spine, and he's killing the Zergling. Snute dips below 25 supply, and Elazer has dominated the natural and will take this WCS championship. There is nothing left for Snute. Congratulations comes out. GG! Elazer is your WCS Valencia champion.
Pulling the queens across the map, going for the attack when everything mattered. Beautiful play.
He raises that trophy high as he secures himself a spot at the global playoffs at the end of the year. An amazing run by an amazing young Zerg player.
He was fighting for that trophy 3 games in a row, down 1-3. And he brings it back, and now he does get to stand up there victorious. A champion hanging in there and showing he had the mentality when everything was on the line to pull it back.
You mentioned that 3 years ago, DreamHack Valencia was your debut LAN event. Now, 3 years later, all your hard work has paid off, and now you are a StarCraft 2 champion. What does this mean for you?
It's very emotional right now for me. It's just finally, finally my dreams come true.
Now, in terms of this series against Snute, there's so much to talk about. You were down 3-1, which is such a difficult position to be in, but as you went into Game 5, what did you tell yourself, and how were you able to focus?
Yeah, well, I think I was kind of lucky that he went for a bathroom break, because during his bathroom break, I kind of visualized myself coming back. So yeah, worked out pretty well.
Now, in that last map on Defender's Landing, he came with some really fast speed lanes. I think a lesser Zerg could have gotten a little bit taken aback and maybe gotten nervous, but you stayed really calm, you defended really well, and you were able to take that last map to become a champion. So, were you surprised at all?
I think I got a build order win in the last game, but I almost threw this away, and that was really sad for me. But he missed his opportunity in killing the hatchery. And after that, I think I had just upper hand in the whole match.
Now, last but not least, I have to give you this chance to please, a word for all the fans here in Valencia that have watched you for the past 3 years competing as a player, and of course, all your fans online.
Guys, you're amazing. It's just my dream to play in front of you, and it just came true. So thank you all for watching.
Now, last but not least, Elazer, I'm sure you know what's coming next. Every champion at a DreamHack needs to go through this champagne ceremony. So Marco Bertz from Blizzard is coming up with the champagne bottle, so good luck. WCS Valencia champion is Elazer!
From young aspiring player 4 years ago to weekly tournament winner 2 years ago, and now look at him, winning himself his first premier event, a dream come true for Elazer here on the stage at WCS Valencia. He bags himself a spot at the global finals and will be moving on in turn. Extremely impressive stuff here, Todd.
Absolutely. Yeah, you mentioned it. A couple top finishes in premier tournaments, 3 top 4s in total. won a long time ago at Home Story Cup, that top 4 at BlizzCon last year, then more recently in Nyon Shopping. But every single time that he made the top 4, that was a 0-3 loss in the semifinals. Yeah. Now finally he broke that barrier, and what a comeback here in the grand finals. Down 1-3, stayed calm, MVP of the finals, the bathroom break apparently that allowed him to visualize himself winning, and it came true in the end.
I mean, you asked me when he was down 3-1, what do you think he has to do? And I said, like, even though he's great aggressive, sometimes it doesn't hurt to go back to your fundamentals, have some fade in your late game as well. Blood Boil, excellent late game, I think. Sequencer, it was Snute who went for, you know, sort of the timing attack, even though it looked like Elazer was being very aggressive with the links early on, but it wasn't an overcommitment. It wasn't an all-in by any means. And then obviously that game 7, the hold on the hedge was awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I agree, by the way. It really felt that once or twice, maybe if Snute right-clicks on that hedge, he can get it. And then obviously you put a timer on Elazer, and then it can get very hard. But he did a phenomenal job in keeping that hatch alive. And I felt the moment that little fight happened at the cooling tower, where it's like links against links, but also 2 queens, is like, okay, now it's starting to look bad for Snute. But what a great comeback.
Yeah, very, very impressive stuff here. Able to take it all the way through the series. A lot looked almost lost there, Todd, in that grand finals, but he kept his composure, he kept his nerves down, and was able to follow through. Impressive stuff.
Yeah, and I really feel like despite his young age, Elazer, by now he's already got so much experience in offline tournaments that it's really what allowed him to do that. I think without that, if he hadn't been playing for as long as he has been, if he hadn't played in as many tournaments, he might have gotten way more nervous and then completely thrown it away, but that didn't happen. And man, what an event this has been, and I really feel like the upcoming weeks we're going to have more StarCraft. This also is a great build-up for Montreal in the final race for the global finals, which this year is going to be absolutely insane. Rank 9 to 15 right now, there is a 500 points difference in those WCS Circuit standings. So literally almost anybody could make it.
And Elazer last year was fighting for the global playoffs through points alone, and then he got the 4th place or 3rd and 4th place spot that he got. This time, it's halfway through the year, he's already secured his spot. Who knows where he can go?
And he missed the very first event, which I mentioned a couple of times, but I just have to mention it again. That is really impressive. Like, a lot of players say it's so hard. You know, you have one bad performance, and you feel like your entire tournament year is on the line. Elazer couldn't make it to Austin because he was incredibly busy with school back then. Finished his exams, apparently told Nurcho, don't worry, I'll still make it. Well, a month and a half later, he already secured his spot. That's very impressive, and also speaks to the confidence and obviously ability to execute that he has.
Yeah, very impressive stuff. Todd, closing thoughts? Anything that's really stood out for you here?
Just super happy for Elazer, excited for the next few weeks. Like I said, you know, next week we've got Home Story Cup coming up. After that, Intellectual Master Shanghai. The StarCraft action doesn't stop at Montreal. Man, what a stop it's going to be in August. We got Challenger coming up. We're going to be casting some of that. It's going to be sick.
You're getting another big one, right? 1 week after the Intel Extreme Masters, GSL versus the world.
Yeah, that's true.
Which Elazer, he kept on talking about this. Guys, get to voting, and I think he's earned my vote. I didn't vote yet, so I have to vote for him now.
I'm voting Elazer as well. There you go.
I think that makes 3 of us. Before the tournament, I was like, it's Scarlet or Elazer. I must say Snute was great this weekend. I was like, the player that gets furthest, I'll probably give my Zerg vote to. Well, he earned it. Hard work.
Absolutely.
Snute definitely mad props, by the way, this tournament. He's fully back in the race, in 7th place right now in the circuit standings, and I'm sure he will be back strong in Montreal.
All right, well, thank you very much, gentlemen. It's been a tournament of fantastic moments here for WCS Valencia as Elazer has crowned himself a champion. He takes away $25,000 and a guaranteed spot at the global playoffs. Plenty of upsets, plenty of amazing games that we've witnessed here, as well as the all-exclusive reveal of the war chest for StarCraft 2. We're done here for WCS Valencia. We shall see you next time at WCS Montreal, which is further down the line. But between that, there's plenty of StarCraft to come. For us, it's bye for now.